Oh, we are going to need more chocolate chips than that. All right, guys, we are back testing out 3 different YouTubers' recipes and trying to figure out which one is the best. Hey guys, I'm Candace, the Edgy Veg. Hello, if you're new here, hit that subscribe button and the bell notification so you don't miss out on new videos every single week. So today we are tackling the chocolate chip cookie. An overwhelming amount of people have requested that I do chocolate chip cookies, and honestly, I get it. It's a good staple recipe. There's a lot of really bad recipes for chocolate chip cookies out there. So today I'm going to do Liv B's chocolate chip cookie recipe against Pick Up Lime's chocolate chip cookie recipe against Molly's Test Kitchen chocolate chip cookie recipe. All of these recipes are pretty similar actually in terms of ingredients. It's all basically the same amount of ingredients, just different amounts, different methods, different sweetnesses, different fat levels. But yeah, so I'm super pumped. I have in my head a vision of what I think is the perfect chocolate chip cookie. And I know it's very personal for everyone. Some people like fluffy big ones. Some like them to be, crunchy. Some like them to be soft. Some like them to be a little crunchy on the outside and soft on the inside. That's my personal favorite. Let's see who has the best one. All right, the first recipe I'm going to test out is Mary from Mary's Test Kitchen. This is the recipe that she actually adapted from veggedout.com to make her own. And she just, substituted a couple things to kind of get the perfect cookie that she wanted. So her ingredients, we have vegan butter, golden sugar, white sugar, baking powder, baking soda, sea salt, vanilla, aquafaba, in like traditional cookie recipes that would replace the egg, unbleached flour, and then chocolate chips. It will be very interesting to see the ratio of cookie dough to chocolate chips for each one of these. I think that's always super important and just kind of a crucial thing. So we'll see how it all goes. But for her, 3/4 cups is her perfect amount of chocolate chips. I'm going to be doing everything in my stand mixer because I'm cooking 3 different recipes and it's the quickest way to do it. So I've preheated the oven to 350 degrees. I think that's the same for all of the recipes. In general, that's more or less the standard cookie temperature for baking, at least, if you're in North America using Fahrenheit. So the first thing we're going to do is in a stand mixer, cream the butter and sugars with an electric beater. Her recipe calls for room temperature butter. So this is just basil, like vegan basil, then golden sugar. I think the other 2 recipes both have brown sugar. I personally prefer golden sugar in my chocolate chip cookies. So already Mary and I are on the same page. Just a couple tablespoons of regular white sugar. All right, so you want it to be well combined, kind of like this. Make sure there's no sugar lumps, which there aren't. Now I'm going to add my salt, baking powder, and baking soda. So I'm just adding the leavening agents as well as our aquafaba and some vanilla. And the general rule for aquafaba is 3 tablespoons of aquafaba to 1 egg. And then continue to mix that. Go ahead and scrape down the sides as you need to. I mean, you can definitely do this in a bowl by hand as well. Now we're adding in our flour. So this is about 1/4 cups of flour to 1/2 cup of vegan butter, which is a really nice ratio. If you find that your cookie dough is a little too wet, you can always add a tablespoon or 2 of flour to that. If you find that it's too dry, you can add, a little bit more butter. And once that's mixed, we will fold in the chocolate chips. All right, so what I like to do for folding them in is just add the chocolate chips and just put it to a light stir. And voila, clean off this guy. And she recommends that we spoon the dough onto, it just says onto a baking sheet. I like to line my baking sheets. I also have specific cookie baking sheets that are vented. It makes better cookies. It helps with even baking. So that's what I'm going to use. So she says you can use 2 spoons, and then I reread it again. She also said that she uses a medium-sized cookie scoop, which I have, also known as a medium-sized ice cream scoop. I like to just go into the batter. Oh, it's so nice and fluffy. I think I'm really gonna like these. There's nothing dry about this batter. Just repeat that with all of them. And using a scoop like this, also just make sure that they're uniform. And then it is a pretty standard 10 to 12 minute cooking time. So that's great. It makes almost 10 perfect, evenly sized cookies. Okay, so I'm going to toss these into the oven and cook them for about 10 to 12 minutes. So I'll check on them after 10 minutes. I have to sample the dough. Perfect dough. I'm gonna check on them after 10 minutes and then kind of decide where to go from there. All right, now I'm going to do the recipe from Pickup Lines, or Sadia's recipe. So this one uses coconut oil instead of vegan butter. She uses brown sugar, maple syrup, plant-based milk, vanilla, baking soda, baking powder, salt, all-purpose flour, and then 1 cup of chocolate chips. So she has 2 cups of flour and half a cup of refined coconut oil, but she wants it not melted. So this, like, I don't know what you would call this, like oil solids. Or the rest of the steps are pretty much the same. Same timing on the oven. We're going to cream together the coconut oil and brown sugar, then add the maple syrup, then add the milk, vanilla, baking soda, baking powder, flour. Okay, so whereas the other one made, like, I think we said 10 cookies, this one is supposed to make 18 to 20. Oh, for the coconut oil, I used refined coconut oil, so you will not end up with that coconut flavor that a virgin coconut oil would have. All right, well, it's all the same stuff as before, so let's do it. Butter, coconut oil, brown sugar. This is what happens when you let your brown sugar sit out. We are going to cream that together. Again, you can do this in a bowl with a fork if you want to, but I like my stand mixer. Tossing the maple syrup in here, mixing it again until it's combined, and then I'm going to add the rest. Once again, we have the trio of baking soda, salt, and baking powder, vanilla, and then for this one we have plant-based milk. So go in and scrape down the sides. We have coconut oil in here, which I find when you start adding any sort of plant-based milk to it, it kind of starts to look like it's curdling. It's just the issue of fat and like water-based liquid not combining properly. So I'm gonna let that go for a little while. If the mixture looks clumpy, that's okay. Okay, because of the coconut oil. Now I'm adding in the flour. While this is mixing up, I'm just going to add the other cookies to a wire cooling rack. Again, we fold in our chocolate chips. I just tasted a little piece of dough. It has a bit of a strange texture to it, but it's really, really tasty. So I'm excited to see what these look like once they're baked. Okay, so we're just going to do the exact same thing. All right, so she says to cook these for about 12 to 15 minutes. I'm going to check on them after 12 and see how it goes. Last but definitely not least, we have the chewy chocolate chip cookies from Liv B. Again, all of the ingredients are pretty much the same. It's a kind of a combination of both. So she has vegan margarine, brown sugar, non-dairy milk, vanilla, all-purpose flour, baking soda, baking powder, salt, and then chocolate chips. She has 1/3 cup to 1/2 cup of non-dairy chocolate chips, which is I think the lowest we've seen so far in terms of ratios. She has 1.5 cups flour and 1/2 cup of margarine, 1 cup of brown sugar. I mean, I think the ratios are very, very promising, and they're called chewy chocolate chip cookies, so I'm wondering if that's like crispy on the outside and chewy on the inside, or what that means. But let's just go ahead and do the same thing we've been doing the entire time. Start with your fat. In this case, it's vegan butter. Once again, I'm using Baicel. Okay, so she actually uses Baicel as well. And if you're using vegan butter or coconut oil, I suggest adding an extra tablespoon or 2 of the plant-based milk because they have less moisture than soft tub margarine. No wonder my cookies are so soft. We're gonna cream together our Baicel margarine with our brown sugar. All right, so she uses 2 different bowls for her wet ingredients and her dry ingredients. Personally, I don't find that necessary when I'm baking cookies. I mean, I'm also not a big baker, so what the heck do I know? But she says to mix your dry ingredients into a separate bowl. So we're gonna do that because Liv said so. So I'm just gonna take my baking soda, my salt, and my baking powder and just add it to my flour and then add it to my bowl. Okay, so I'm going to set that aside. And to my wet mixture, I'm going to add my plant-based milk and my vanilla. A teaspoon of vanilla and then her plant-based milk. Again, I'm using soy, and we're going to mix that around until it's combined. I've mixed that together. It's wet. It's like wet butter. Going to take my wet ingredients and my dry ingredients and mix them together. Okay, so that's all mixed together. So I'm going to add my chocolate chips. I'm going to start with 1/3 of a cup and kind of see if I want to add more or not. And again, I'm setting that to stir so I can gently fold. Oh, we are going to need more chocolate chips than that. All right, so I'm adding some more. This recipe is definitely very moist. Okay, so I'm just going to do the exact same thing I did before. She says to roll it into a ball. It's a very delicate dough, so I'm just going to very delicately do that. And then toss it on the sheet. Sadias are just about ready to come out, so I'm gonna take those out of the oven. She wants us to let these cool on the baking sheet for a minute before I transfer them onto the cooling rack. So while that's happening, I'm gonna finish over here. Okay, so these are ready to go. We're cooking these for 9 to 11 minutes. I think Liv's might be the best dough. It's soft and fluffy. Mary's dough is really good too. It's just a little bit denser. I'm excited to see what happens. I'll let you choose.
I think I want to start with this. I don't want to call it a broken up one. But...
Broken. The Mary's Test Kitchen one?
Oh, yeah.
It's good. Mm-hmm. It has that like undercookedness on the inside, but crunchy on the outside.
Mm-hmm. It's super sweet.
Mm-hmm. Like really sweet.
Mm-hmm. But a good amount of chocolate chips.
Mm-hmm. I think already this might be my favorite chocolate chip to dough ratio, just by looking at them.
Oh, yeah.
Which one's next?
Go with this middle one, the really round one.
Okay, so this one is Pickup Limes. I was expecting it to taste a little bit more healthy than it does.
It doesn't have an egg replacer, right?
No.
But it's the maple syrup and coconut oil.
Yeah, it has a crispier texture. It's not overly sweet, which is nice. It has a lot of chocolate chips. I would like them to be flatter though.
Like not rolled into balls before the oven?
Because they don't really spread. Yeah, so far, if someone gave me each one of these cookies, I would be very pleased.
I mean, they're all chocolate chip cookies, so there's not really, you know, much you can...
Oh, I think this one might be my favorite. Yeah, it's like soft and chewy.
It's the most buttery one, but Liv bakes a lot.
Yeah.
So she should have the best cookies.
I think you could pick any recipe and you'd have a winner, but I think in this batch, Liv hits all the must-haves for me. That was buttery, chewy. Definitely go with the 1/2 cup of chocolate chips and not the 1/3 of a cup.
But some people like less chocolate.
That's true.
Not me.
Not me either. Yeah, I mean, for me, Liv's the winner here, but they're all so good.